Good afternoon and welcome to Grief Support Group. I apologize for not having it last week. If you're here this week, I'm grateful to you for giving it another shot. I got waylaid, as sometimes happens, but it's good to be with you all. This is a chance for folks who are experiencing grief in the building to take a little bit of time and be intentional about it. Take a little bit of time and be curious, maybe express. When we gather together for a grief support group like this, generally several things that it would do. One is that this is the kind of journey that you understand if you have traveled it before or are traveling it. It's not always the kind of thing that folks who haven't gone through it can fully understand. So it's good to be around people who understand this very particular experience. Part of it is an ability to express the things that are inside, get them external to you. Sometimes that can help keep them from getting stuck. And the other is to have a chance to take care of yourself and also take care of others in the midst of the intensity of the grief journey. So in a way, we are aiming to do those things during this time. This is a less than perfect way to do this, but if we continue to find ways to express and connect, and find ways to take care of ourselves and each other in the midst of this grief journey, then we will have been able to do those things together. We've been going through the book Good Grief. We're going to take a little break from that for right now, and we're going to go to James Miller's book, How Will I Get Through the Holidays? 12 Ideas for Those Whose Loved One Has Died. Specifically, since we're headed into the holiday season, it can have its own extra intensity during this time. So, as we begin, I invite you to find a comfortable spot in your chair. Take a few deep breaths in and out. And check in with yourself, check in with your spirit, check in with your body. Ask yourself, where am I today on my grief journey? And if it doesn't feel too daunting of a question, what has this past week been like in my grief journey? Grief can change from moment to moment. So if a week or even a day is too much to think about all at once, where are you right now in your grief journey? You may want to have a journal with you, or some paper, something to write on or draw on as you think of things or notice things. I'll read a section and we'll do a little bit of reflecting after each section. This again is How Will I Get Through the Holidays by James Miller, or Jim Miller. He is based in Fort Wayne, and copies of this book are available for you to take if you'd like from the Spiritual Care Library in the chapel foyer. Quote from Alfred Lord Tennyson: written after the death of his best friend just before the holidays, 1833. The Yule log sparkled keen with frost. No wing of wind the region swept, but over all things brooding slept the quiet sense of something lost. Quote by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, "The holiest of all holidays are those kept by ourselves in silence and apart, the secret anniversaries of the heart." Whatever your age, whoever has died, whatever the cause of death, holidays lived in the absence of someone dear can be very difficult times. Customary routines are ended, never to be repeated in quite the same way. Easygoing laughter, once so natural, may become awkward or even altogether missing. Gift-giving, once so filled with fun, may seem somehow empty and sad. Familiar songs, once so comforting, may catch in your throat or bring tears to your eyes. All this happens against a backdrop of significant questions you may find yourself asking. What exactly is happening to me? Can I possibly survive this? And do I even want to? How long will this turmoil last? Is what I am feeling normal? Am I losing touch with my sanity? The holiday period itself adds its own share of questions. How can I make it through all the events of the holiday while missing so desperately the one I love? Would I be better off to ignore the holidays this year? Should I act as if everything were normal? Should I make major changes in my holiday rituals? If you're like most people in grief, you will have many questions. It's important for you to know at the outset there are few universal right and wrong answers. There may be various answers depending on the unique factors of your situation, who you are as a person, what your family is like, who it was who died, when and how they died, what your relationship with that person was, and the role that person played in your holiday rituals, to name only a few. It's also important to remember that not all your questions will have ready answers. Sometimes you must learn by doing, and then learn even better by trying it another way. There's a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. "The eager fate which carried thee took the largest part of me, for this losing is true dying." And from T.S. Eliot, "Yet we have gone on living, living and partly living." Keeping in mind there has never been a loss precisely like yours, there are still some general guidelines bereaved people have found helpful through the years. I will propose 12 of them. I hope you will treat them as suggestions rather than as prescriptions. Use them as ideas you can expand upon. Shape them to fit your distinct circumstances and to serve your personal needs. Above all else, remember that others, many others, have faced something similar to what you're facing right now. They have learned what it is like to endure and to survive, and often even to grow through their experience. What they have learned is what you can learn too. The ways they have persevered are ways you can adopt as well. Most of all, I hope you'll choose to believe this. Your holidays can still be a significant time for you. They will be different, but they can still be meaningful. They may hurt, but they can also hold hope, even great hope. Maybe a question to reflect on in this section is, what do you desire from your holidays this year? And what concerns do you have about your holidays this year? We'll take a little bit of silence to jot down some thoughts or reflect inwardly. Chapter 1. Accept the likelihood of your pain. There's a quote by George Eliot, who is Mary Ann Evans. There is no despair so absolute as that which comes from the first moments of our first great sorrow, when we have not yet known what it is to have suffered and be healed, to have despaired and recovered hope. When you're facing your first holiday without the one who has been so close to you, a good starting point is with this awareness. Chances are it will be a painful time. You may wonder how you will ever make it through. This may or may not comfort you, but it is true. Your pain is a sign you have been blessed to draw very close to another. You have loved and you have been loved. The hurt you feel is an indication of your wonderful humanness, your sensitivity, your openness. It is a proof that another has touched you deeply, even as you have touched them. While you may wish you did not hurt as much as you do, you dare not forget that your pain is none other than the result of your joy. Even so, you may feel you would like to bypass the entire holiday period and not participate in it at all. That's a common response. During the final 2 months of the calendar year, however, holiday reminders are visible almost everywhere you look and audible in almost everything you hear. It's impossible to avoid the impact of this season. The energy you would spend evading what is going on all around you will be more creatively spent adapting to the reality of what this particular season holds for you. Similarly, it is probably unwise to pretend everything is perfectly normal and that this year's festivities will be no different than any other years. The death of this important person in your life has created a conspicuous void. You may feel that, of course, any time of the year, but this is especially the case during the holidays. You expect to include those you love in your holiday celebrations, with the cards you write, the gifts you give, the meals you share, the rituals you reenact. The one who has died, however, cannot be included, at least in the way you wish. And you're reminded of this time after time in the way families are portrayed on television, in the way loved ones are referred to in holiday songs, in the idealistic images everyone carries inside about these special times. Remember this: few holidays are as picture perfect as we'd like to believe. It may help to admit that from the start. It is equally important not to decide in advance that the approaching holidays will necessarily be horrendous. While it may have its difficult moments, the approaching holiday time does not have to be an absolute catastrophe. More often than not, people report that the experience itself did not turn out to be as trying as they feared. Chances are good that can be your experience too. Yes, you will probably feel pain. Yes, you may wish this year's calendar would skip over November and December. But no, it doesn't have to be awful. There are things you can do to help. Here's a quote by John of the Cross. To come to the pleasure you have not, you must go by a way in which you enjoy not. To come to the knowledge you have not, you must go by a way in which you know not. To come to the possession you have not, you must go by a way in which you possess not. To come to be where you are not, you must go by a way in which you are not. Reflection question for this one might be, or reflect on whatever you'd like. What's it like to anticipate both the reality of pain and the reality, possibility of hope and meaning in these holiday times. Chapter 2, feel whatever it is you feel. There's a quote from Alfred Lord Tennyson. But what am I, an infant crying in the night, an infant crying for the light, and with no language but a cry? You may be learning what many others have learned. Some people will try to hurry you through your grief. Some may insist on continually cheering you up. Others may give you advice about what you should and shouldn't do, or about how you should and shouldn't feel. Whatever else you do this holiday time, do your best to claim your own feelings. As much as you are able, own up to the fact that something terribly important has happened in your life, that this naturally causes a reaction within you. You're not a robot. You're a responsive human being who is capable of all sorts of emotions. No one else will feel what you do in the same way, at the same time, with the same intensity. But some of the general feelings people in your situation often report include these. Sadness. It's sad to think about what you've lost, what can never happen again, what you'll have to learn to live without. It's doubly sad to experience this at such a happy time of the year. Depression. More than feeling glum, you may feel desolate or despairing. You may feel depleted of all energy, listless and alone. You may doubt you'll ever feel any better. Anxiety. You may feel nervous and jittery, ill at ease and full of uncertainty. Fear. You may be afraid of what will happen to you, how you'll cope, what you'll do, even if you'll survive. Anger. Being mad is a common response. Being mad at people who don't understand you or support you. Angry about how the death happened and who was involved, even provoked at the person who died. You may be upset with yourself or with God or with the whole world. Guilt. You may dwell upon what you did or didn't do while the other person was alive. You may feel guilty you're living and the other is not, or that you have moments of happiness in the midst of your grief. Apathy. You may find that you experience almost no feelings at all. You may feel numb and impassive, or you may feel confused and disoriented. There are many other feelings, of course: relief, respect, pride, joy, compassion, and love all come to mind as well. Whatever it is you're feeling these days, remind yourself that feelings are normal, whatever they happen to be. They're a sign that you're human, that you care deeply, and that whatever you feel today, you can feel differently tomorrow. Your feelings seldom lead you astray. They usually lead you to yourself. A quote from Charlotte Bronte: "Better to be without logic than without feeling." And a quote from Marcel Proust from a letter to a recently bereaved friend: "One day, an idea that will horrify you now, this intolerable misfortune, will become a blessed memory of a being who will never again leave you. But you are in a stage of unhappiness where it is impossible for you to have faith in these reassurances. So, a question to reflect on right now: what are the feelings that have been part of your grief journey recently? And how have you felt them or expressed them? Chapter 3, Express Your Emotions. A quote by William Shakespeare: "Give sorrow words. The grief that does not speak whispers the o'er-fraught heart and bids it break." Acknowledging your feelings to yourself is one step, but another step is just as important. You must find a release for what is going on inside you. There are many different ways to express yourself. Search for what works best for you. Some cry long and hard, and others cry hardly at all. People are different that way. Some prefer to talk a lot, and others tend to be more quiet. Some like to write, while others keep their hands busy in different ways. The secret for your best means of expression is simple: be yourself. Many people find real value in speaking their feelings to family members and closest friends, while others are comfortable with acquaintances, colleagues, and even people they barely know. The important thing is to choose someone who will listen, especially someone who listens well and responds thoughtfully. Sometimes a person who has known their own serious losses can be with you in a way others cannot. A grief support group can also be a healthy choice for someone in your situation. You may be one who turns more easily to the written word. If you have not been a journal keeper, now is a good time to begin. Regular journaling helps get feelings off your chest. It helps clarify your thinking, and it helps you monitor your progress through grief. If you wish, you can write letters to the one who died. You can compose stories and fashion poems. You can record your dreams and look for their subtle messages. You can preserve your wonderings and expand on your ponderings. Some people best express their feelings with music, by singing or playing an instrument. Others like to pray their feelings or express them through body movement. It is also possible for you to convey your emotions in more tangible ways. People have been known to give expression to their innermost selves by creating something out of wood, molding something out of clay, quilting something out of cloth, or painting something on a canvas. The possibilities are almost limitless. Whatever method you choose, find a way to allow your feelings to move from within yourself to outside yourself. You'll feel better, you'll learn more, you'll gain perspective, and you'll be placing yourself squarely on the path that leads toward healing. Here are some quotes from Pierre Corneille. One often calms one's grief by recounting it. Quote by Charles Lamb from a letter just after his mother died. I have something more to do than to feel. And a quote from Jesus: "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Question for this section: what are the ways that have worked in the past for you to express your feelings? Are there any modes of expression that you would either like to return to or try anew during this season? We'll read one more section before we finish. Chapter 4, Plan Ahead. Quote from Sir William Osler: "When schemes are laid in advance, it is surprising how often the circumstances fit in with them." Perhaps the most practical advice is this: plan your day before it arrives. Realizing that this year's holidays and maybe several years' holidays will not unfold the way you'd wish, you can make plans to do the best you can with the circumstances you face. You can prepare yourself to deal with what you think will be the more difficult situations. You can give thought to how you will cope with those parts of your celebration that are especially emotion-laden, or how you will handle those tasks or roles that were the special responsibility of your loved one. You can ask others to help you both in thinking about what you'll do and in carrying out your ideas. Talk things over with the people with whom you traditionally share the holidays. Among the issues that might be discussed are these: what is it about the approaching holidays that most concerns you? What do you need for others to understand about you during this time? What can other people do to help you? What can they refrain from doing? What can you do to help others? What are some creative ways you might handle the holiday celebrations so you can be true to the spirit of the season while being honest about the loss you have suffered? You will probably find that open conversation and brainstorming of thoughts will give you some positive ideas. Make sure you listen to people of all ages, including the young. After a painful death, one family brought novelty to their celebration by introducing a different country's theme each year. A Spanish holiday fiesta one time, a Swedish observance the next. Another family decided to add more structure to their time together by playing a round-robin tournament of a favorite game all afternoon. You might elect to go to a movie or bring one in. You might invite someone new to your celebration, or even a whole group of people. You might elect to join another family's festivities if that feels right. Give thought to the various choices you might make, knowing that choices are available. Try listing your options on paper to help clarify your thinking. Consider doing something similar with the many tasks you face as you prepare for this time, finding ways to divide them into smaller, more manageable units. Slowly, you will probably find that you are able to do what you feel is best. When planning ahead, make decisions for the immediate holiday period only. You don't need to decide about the years ahead. And whatever you do, plan tentatively. You haven't been through this particular holiday while experiencing this particular loss. Give yourself the freedom to change your plans as you go. You deserve that leeway. A quote by Winston Churchill: "It is a mistake to look too far ahead. Only one link in the chain of destiny can be handled at a time." And a quote by Maria Mitchell: "People have to learn sometimes not only how much the heart, but how much the head can bear." that feels like a good place to stop. And in fact, perhaps is a good place for you to consider your own reflecting. What kinds of plans are you making? What kinds of plans can you make? Options feel less possible, more limited this time around because of COVID, but there are still possibilities. And so perhaps in this next week, pray for guidance and start listing possibilities, start making plans. We will begin again with this book next week. Pardon me. I don't think any of the holidays fall on a Tuesday this year, so we'll continue all the way straight through the holiday season Monday. We'll continue all the way straight through the holiday season with grief support groups on Mondays at 3:30. I'm glad that you joined, and I will see you again next week. As always, if you are in need of a prayer or some time to talk, please feel free to give me a call. We'll find some time. Okay? Blessings.